y'all, I'm coming back in on the waterfall dresser, and I wanted to give you just an update. I have what I've done so far. Let me see if I can pull this around a little bit. I can't decide on where's the best place to put it. I've got the drawers back in there for now as they are. I've misted the center of the front of this with water from my mister bottle. And I've decided to use Dixie Belle paints, and in a minute I'll show you the rest of the colors. I hope I remember to do that. But this is going to have a Prima Transfer on it, and I don't have it right here in front of me right now. I kind of want to surprise everybody with it anyways, because it is unusual to be something to go on a dresser, but I love it. I've loved that transfer since I saw it. It's at home on my table, or I probably would go ahead and sneak peek it with you. But something I learned about the transfers, and this is Savannah Mist, which is kind of a pale, muted, grayish blue-green color. And my intention was to paint this whole thing navy blue and then put the stencil on here, because the darkest part of, not stencil, but of the transfer, it's called Prima Redesign Transfers. The darkest part of the transfer is in navy, and I just envisioned it all sort of flowing in together and thought that would be very pleasing to the eye. But in reality, after reading where some other people, have done the stencils, particularly that one, which is a dark stencil. I don't know anybody who's done it on furniture. But they say you really need it to be a light color underneath it for it to stick out. So what I've decided to do is start, and this is the lightest color of the colors that I'm going to use, is start with it and do the whole center part here and come out a little farther than where my transfer is going to be. The transfer is 24 by 36, and I used a piece of wrapping paper that's 22 inches long to estimate, and it looks to me like right along this line right here all the way down to the bottom of the bottom drawer is pretty dang close to 36 inches. So that's what I'm going to plan for. Now, a lot of people, when they're doing something similar to that, will leave this one as wood, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to paint it too. So I'm painting with my lightest color, and that's what's going to be behind my transfer to help it show up. I want to go a little bit past it, and it seems to me like the 24 inches wide went a little bit past these holes where the knobs originally were. Now, I mentioned that in a previous video that we're going to fill these up with wood putty and put our knobs in a new place. And I don't have the wood putty here with me today, and I'm not going to allow not having everything perfect and ready to slow me down on the project. So there's still work that has to be done on this veneer. There's still other things that have to be done here, but it would be better, instead of me going home and it's still looking like this today and having to come up here on Thanksgiving to fill in these holes, to go ahead and paint over that, because I can come back and fill in these holes. I'll probably leave those, fill in these holes after it's already been painted, and then touch up those little areas of paint. So I've got a bucket of water here, and I'm hoping to, and this is the Dixie Belle. It's a thick mineral paint, but it also has an acrylic base, so it's not going to need a top coat. I will put a top coat eventually, but it doesn't need one, and that's part of the reason why I chose to use it rather than say a chalky based paint or something like that. That would still need a top coat on it before I could put the transfer. So I'm doing this to save myself a step. And even though I said that my transfer is going to start right here, I'm going to want to go up into here and sort of blend in a little bit of the lighter color onto this upper drawer. So, and I know I need to come way farther out. So that's why I'm starting it in this fashion. I don't know how yet I'm going to do this, whether I'm going to start that transfer below this, because this is a little it's called a stile. This is a little stile between the drawers here. It's a wood part, and there's another one down here, but there's a deep indentation on this one, and this one the bottom one has ridges. So that's something that I have to consider whenever I'm trying to decide to use the transfer. Am I going to try to make the transfer go perfectly in there, or skip below that and start here? So while I'm hem-hawing around about that, I'm going to go ahead and paint over it, because it's not going to hurt for it to have the paint under it if we're going to do that later. But it also will prepare it to already have paint in case I decide not to have anything under it. So I'm wanting to go a little farther out than my guesstimated 24 inches. And then I'm going to go all the way down. I know that the 36, I'm going to end it right at the bottom drawer there. That's went in a little too much because that hasn't been fixed yet either. But I'm going to come in and try to blend a little bit around the edges there. So in the meantime, I'm coming pretty straight down with them. And then what I'll do, and I've always wondered this whenever I'm watching somebody else paint, is, and they're painting with the drawers together, because a lot of times I take the furniture apart before I paint it, is I'm going to come back and perfectly straightly paint the tops and the side panels on this drawer. I'm just doing it to begin with closed, because right now all I have in mind is that the transfer is going to be on here, and the transfer is going to go from drawer to drawer. So I'm wanting to keep this wet, so it's going to be a thin coat, because I'm not wanting a thick coat behind where the transfer is going to be, even though a thick coat wouldn't hurt. I mean, there's just no sense in wasting a lot of the paint on that, because it will be covered up. And I'm not too worried about my brush strokes here, because they also are not going to show. The transfer is semi-transparent, but it's, like I said, it's navy blue, and it has some red roses and things on it. It's very, very pretty to me. Half the time I think I'm going to end up with this stuff at home that I'm painting, because it, you know, I wonder, is anybody else besides me going to love it? Sometimes I'm surprised. Wanting to get this coat on here real good so that I can show you how I'm going to come in with the next deepest color and the other colors that I'm going to be using, because I know my phone battery's not going to last until next week or anything on here. So I need to... This veneer, the thin wood part in the front is cracked a little bit at the edges of all these drawers, but because this piece is going to be partially distressed anyway, I'm going to distress over the transfer. You can do that. I'm just painting over it and not stressing over it. A lot of people, when they're progressed and professionals at this, would roll this flat surface, so that's always an option. I don't have a roller up here with me, so I'm not going to worry about it. But a lot of people who professionally paint furniture get themselves a spray rig and spray this kind of stuff. Just take the drawers all out and hang them on something, or they may do it together for all I know, but I do know that a lot of people spray it. We have a couple of those sprayers at my house. But my husband has a hard time with them, and I figure if he has a hard time with it, and he's much more experienced at tools and things like that than I am, then I probably don't want to frustrate myself messing with it. Let me see if I can tilt this up anymore or not. Here we go. This is the new mini brush from Dixie Belle, and this is my first or second time to use it. And I generally like brushes that have real bristles, not the artificial bristle ones, but this is really nice, and it's holding a lot of paint, so you'll probably see me using it again. And if you're interested in it or want more info, let me know and I'll put a link in. I have an affiliate link and I can put that in and you can check it out. I think it's like 18 bucks maybe, something like that. going all the way down, and this veneer is cracked down here at the bottom. Not sure if y'all can see that, but I'm just painting right over the cracks. We will, I'm gonna get Eric to help me. I'm gonna bring this piece home, and we will, you know, glue all of the veneer that's loose and things like that. I'm not gonna sell it to somebody without that part, you know, being taken care of. But as far as how it looks, doesn't matter. I'm just painting over that because that's part of the distressed tendency. But making sure that it's solid and dependable, that I will do. Ain't nobody got time for junk. Okay, let's hope I moved fast enough here to be able to do the next part I wanted to show you. Be getting real close here for a second. I'm using next this vintage duck egg. It's just a little bit darker than the, what was that I just used? Then the Savannah Mist. And then after that, I'm gonna go a little bit darker. This one's called Stormy Seas. So I'm just gonna put like one little layer around it, because coming out from the transfer, I want it to gradually come out from the lighter to the darker, because I envisioned this piece being darker, but this is my way of getting the lighter underneath. There's not a whole lot in here, so I'm not going to worry about contaminating. I'm probably going to use the last of it on here, so I'm just going to keep going with this same brush and dip it right in the container. See how there's a little bit of difference in the color? It's not dramatic, but there's a little. And the water on there has thinned it out, but I want to get all the way down with that. And do it pretty quickly. Missed a little bit more water on there. Not getting a ton of paint. I'm meaning to just get it on the tips, and that's me and my flip-flopping back and forth that's causing it to go farther up the bristles. It's not exactly what you ideally want to happen, but that's my method and I'm sticking to it. Okay. Now I've got all I need of that on there, but I'm going to take this misting bottle and go just inside the already drier than it needs to be last color and see if I can fade this in a little. Oh yeah, I just put a lot of water. I can see some blade through. If you were here with me yesterday, I'm pretty mad at myself right this minute. If you were here with me yesterday, you saw where I cleaned this with TSP based White Lightning from Dixie Belle, and it was so nasty with tobacco residue, nicotine and all that stuff on it, that I said I was going to come in here today and clean it again just in case, so that wouldn't happen, and I didn't. I've been here all day working on other projects, and I said there's no way that, you know, a place would need a piece would need a second coat of TSP, because that stuff is miraculous and does a good job, and it is, but obviously I was wrong, because some of the runs that I'm seeing from the water that I'm applying here are yellow. That nicotine residue is extremely difficult to get rid of. So we'll see, and that'll be another lesson we can learn together, whether whenever I come back to work on this one again, whether or not there is bleed through of the nicotine residue or not. But I'm not going to let it slow me down right now because I do have more coats to put on here. And what I would do after that to make up for the fact of what I've done now is put like a stain blocking top coat over this before I put, and make this have been like a primer before I put my next coats on. And that would be the remedy for if you get ahead of yourself like I do. If I can get this open. And I'm going to do the same thing. Man, I should have tried this first because I can't just bang it because somebody's back there getting a massage. There it goes, my brute muscle strength. This is Stormy Seas. Love this color. Almost looks gray up there, but it's more of a blue gray if you're looking at it close. I dipped my brush in a little water. I'm going to dip it in here and do the same thing that I just did with the other one. These are such beautiful colors. I'm excited that it happened to where my mind got changed and adding some of the lighter colors to the front. I'm just kind of slopping it on here because I am going to attempt to blend with the water. Oh, this is still wet. This just puts, if you haven't used one before, you can get it here if you're local, or you can get it at your beauty supply house or like Sally's Beauty or whatever, or you can order it online, wherever you want to. But it's not like a regular squirt bottle like you would get at Walmart or in the garden center or in the house cleaning center, that housewares or whatever, that would have a strong spray, because we're not wanting to like whitewash it back off of here or spray it back off of here. We're wanting to just finely mist and dampen the surface so that the paint will spread easier as we're kind of blending it in. We're wanting to bring a little bit of this lighter out and a little bit of that darker in. Most of this will be hidden later on. Not this upper part, so I'm going to pay a little extra attention right here. I'm not wanting to stay on this too long because I'm fixing to hop over to my darker color, and I'm going to want to blend a little bit of that in as well. A little water to bleed the lighter out, or blend the lighter out, and then just go out to in, because these will blur together later on. And none of this is doing much here, just in case there was any overspray of the mist and wanting to hit through the middle. Now is when we're going to go to the next darker color. Should have had all those on the floor down here with me, but I don't. I have several more colors over there, and we'll probably decide as I go. Excuse me for a moment. A little bit sloppy right now, but like I said, most of that won't show. I've grabbed aubergine, which is like a purple. Don't know if I'll use this or not, but collard greens. I wanted to use palmetto, which is another green, and I only have one left, so I hate to take it. I've got in the navy, plum crazy, and just to throw a squirrel in the thing, I got some daisy. Right now what I'm wanting to do is move into the darker, and I'm going to use this collard greens. Makes no sense whatsoever, so that's why I'm going to do it. It's kind of a deep green. It's not going to be a lot of this, but just a little bit of a transition. So I'm going to go with the side of my brush and get some around here. And this is where, when you doubt yourself and you don't know what to do and it's a little bit confusing and stuff like that, just trust yourself and go with it. It's paint. We can change it later. But sometimes just out of the blue, a color will come up like this, and that little bit of something is what makes the piece. So I'm going to trust that and go with it. Going off of the edge of the drawers a little here on the side rails. But on the drawers just a tad too. This is part of why you don't want too much on your brush right here, because I'm not fixing to rinse that off. I'm going to leave it, and that's going to spread more green than I anticipated, but I'm still going to go for it. I'm not wanting to do away with all of that darker shade of the blue-gray on there. Blend down. I know y'all can't see all of this, but I also know how it can make you dizzy if you move the camera too much. I can feel it starting to drag over here. It's a little bit dry, but I have still a lot of paint going, so I'm going to continue all the way down with it before I go back and add more water. And I'm not worried about both sides of this being identical and symmetrical. That's just not part of it either. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush a little. But I'm not getting more paint. I'm just gonna go on the inner area a little so that I can just thin this down some to try to blend it in. Got a lot of water in my brush. There, trying to bring some of the light out. We'll do that first, and then we'll try to bring some of the dark in. See how that sort of brings the tone of that green down some. While that's still wet, I'm gonna grab, gosh y'all, I don't know whether to go with the aubergine and move straight into the purple or whether I'm better move into the blue first. I'm gonna move into the blue, which is gonna end up with the body of the dresser being more purple than blue, which is another change of plans that I just gotta trust, but I really wanna go from the green to the blue because these are each blue and green shades. And I may not. I can't get the blue open, so we're gonna move straight from the blue to the purple. I mean, from the green to the purple. Jules, see if there's a spoon in that big bowl right there. Sorry, I can't get this one open either. Usually I do this ahead of time. Butter knife. I know I have one of each over there. What I normally would do at this point would be bang this upside down on the floor, but that surely would disturb somebody's massage session. So I'm just trying to loosen around all these edges. There are people who put Vaseline around the edges of this when they first open it to prevent this from happening. They're way more organized and smart than me on that kind of stuff. Forward thinking. Ooh, I got this one open. My granddaughter Jules working on the blue one for us. But remember where I talked about just trust your judgment and go with it. Okay, there's a lot left in this can, and I still have some green left on my brush, and I want it there, so I'm going to use the paint out of the lid. Dampening my brush a little to get some of that green out. And here we go. Ooh, it does look good together, doesn't it, y'all? Everything happens for a reason. The blue wouldn't have looked as good. This is where the, what looks like an inlay is on the side. Let me see if I can turn this side for you to see. Here on the side, no, that didn't help. Let's see if I can move it out a little. Right here. This is the inlay that we discussed that's not a real inlay. And here's what I've decided, cover it up. I'm a painter, not a furniture refinisher. And one day in the future, maybe 40 years from now, when the plain furniture comes back into vogue again, there will be somebody stripping this paint off going, I cannot believe they painted over this beautiful inlay. So I'm leaving them something to find. I'm going to go kind of high with this purple. And hit up this, up the waterfall portion of the dresser with it. Okay. Now before the green dries too much, I need to get to blending. I'm going to try to get a decent amount of this purple off of my brush and blend it up where it's going to blend into the blue before I go down. Wish me luck. Oh, that's so pretty. I hope that y'all can see the colors that this is blending into. I wouldn't have trusted myself just to go with this and not stress out going and trying to figure out a way to force that blue in on myself, because that's what I had in mind to begin with. I wouldn't have came out with this beautiful shading that's going to be here, which is exactly what I envisioned. I'm just lightly swooping. I'm not wanting to bring too much purple in, and I'm not wanting to bring too much green out. So I'm just almost as if I was dry brushing, just swooping. The blue does not want to work. I don't know where to look for it at, Jewel, but I have one of those in the navy in a larger container, and I don't know where it's at. Go look in the Dixie Belle display and see if there's, wonder if it got put back out. Just swooping, almost dry brushing at this point, some of the purple over into this area. It almost gives it that kind of a foggy look. And I'm about to have to do what I don't want to do. I'm hoping she comes back with some blue for me, because these are accent colors and I just have no idea where to put them. And I'm gonna grab another brush, if you'll hang with me, and because I don't want to put this purple brush in those bright colors. Okay, here's what I came up with. A French round and a number 8 from Paint Pixie.
I didn't see any of this color.
Okay, it's alphabetical and it's called In the Navy. Let me look real quick. Okay, I'm going to open a larger one because I do want to, I think I'm going to give Jewel a few more minutes on that, because while this is still damp on my brush, I want to add just a tad of these other colors. We're going to go with the yellow first. This makes no sense, I know, y'all, but hey, Jewel got it open, yay. I want to, please don't let me regret it. I want to just blend in just a tad of these colors. Let's see. It's not as easy. Oh, I've got low battery. Okay. This will be the last thing I'm going to show y'all today, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. The rest of the dresser from where I just blended with the purple back is going to be the navy blue. So next time you see it, that's going to be the thing. But I'm going to go right here and right here. And the same thing, how far down should I go? Right here. And then both sides of the bottom, with just a little bit of this yellow. And dampen my brush just a tad. And trust yourself, just do it. So, can you see where, yep, there. And then I'm just doing the same areas at the bottom. If I don't, if this just goes dead on us, I would love you to share this, give me some hearts, and keep watching for another live, because I'll be back one day. I'll be back within the next few days with a little bit more progress on this. See, some of the other underneath paint is still wet, but I'm just wanting to brighten up just a tad in there. Same thing here. And I tried to even it out by bringing it in through the middle down here and then back out. I don't want to muddy it up. I'm going to go a little bit right, well, no, right here. A little bit right there, just a little. And spread this out a little bit, because if I don't go over this crevice, it'll be nice for it to have a little something in there with it. Okay, now I've got another brush, gonna dampen it, and do the same thing with this pink, with this Plum Crazy. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Jewel, where's the spoon? Can you see what I'm doing there? Just lifting around the edges, trying to loosen up any of the paint that may have dried along the ridges. That's a miracle every time. Okay, here it is. And I'm kind of going to want it, you could either put it beside the yellow for them to come out of each other. You could put it in a totally opposite area than the yellow. I'm going to go beside it, just dipping in, trying not to get too much. And I'm going to go below it and above it. And this is real dry, but I'm going to mist it in just a minute.
I'm thinking about a sunset is what I've got going on in my mind, which is when I'm working on this. Okay, do this one in the middle so maybe you can see that one really good. And I just misted it, and that's just to lighten this back up just a tad, but see how that's almost bringing the purple down into the blue and green. And not very much of this is going to show, because remember my transfer will start right there, but a little bit will show through. I don't want that to solidify, so I'm going to spray all the areas and to keep them damp right now. Come out over the edge a little bit. Just try not to be too symmetrical with it. A lot of people think you can't blend with water on with the Dixie Belle paint, but as long as you keep it wet and keep going, it's awesome the way that it works. I'm gonna try to get this one because I know you can see it really well. So see how you can still see, see if I can bring it up, still see the yellow I had in there, but the pink is coming down too, and there's a little bit of the green coming out, and I believe everything happens for a reason. And I don't really want this rounded like that, because the transfer is square, but I like things rounded, so I'm going to make sure that there's a good amount in these seams. Almost looks like watercolor, doesn't it? Back down here at the thing that's probably going to end up showing. And this probably won't, but it helps me to get a good blend on the other part and to feel like I'm being somewhat symmetrical. Okay, that don't look good. I'm going to go back over it with the green. I done messed it up now. I could probably take water and come over it with the yellow. I'm just blending this so it'll remain light underneath my transfer. Get a little bit of that yellow in there. The happy accident has occurred. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit more of this yellow under that pink, under that plum, to bring it back to life. See how little I'm getting on there? And that's probably too much. Just bringing in just a tad to shade in where it leads into that pink so it didn't get lost there. Hey, Candy. Okay. Now I know I'm gonna try to back it up and let you see the whole thing from a distance a little bit before my battery goes dead. Let's see if I can get this out. Okay. Where is it? I'm toward the back of the phone. Let me see if I can just turn this around. Hey. There we go. That yellow ugly down there, that didn't work out, but it's going to be hidden, so I'm not going to worry about it. And the transfer is going to go from either here or here all the way down to the bottom ledge, covering those drawers, but the light being behind it is going to help it. That yellow splotch will be fine, but then we'll blend that purple into the navy on the sides and the back and go from there. I appreciate you joining me. If you have any questions, make sure and post them. I'll check back later. If you could share this, that would be awesome. Give us some hearts. That helps Facebook send it more places. I do appreciate you. Keep watching. This is going to be a fun project. Bye.